And we are at the top of the hour. So with that, I will hand it over to Mr. Gary Martinez.
Alrighty. Good morning, everybody. This is Gary Martinez. I apologize again for not having my camera on. I don't think anyone wants to see me drive, but I guess that's one of the conveniences of Zoom. But want to welcome everyone to LA Breakfast Club. So excited to have everyone here this morning. We have a fantastic show in front of you, and I just want to thank everyone for participating. And we just want to continue to keep things going. Some of the things that we do and we focus on is networking and education. And with us being with Zoom allowing us to get together and allowing us to come together, stay together, and get an opportunity to educate each other, learn about each other's business, and hopefully grow each other's business. So again, thank you so much for coming. I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Denise to go ahead and introduce our committee members for Breakfast Club. Denise.
Oh, well, yes. Good morning, everyone. To start off with, we have Vernon. Vernon, he is the one that is our esteemed chair of this breakfast committee. And he keeps us going. And if you ever need help to keep yourself going, you call Vernon Webb. You know, keep your business going and keep it floating up there. And so then also Mitch, we couldn't do without Mitch Woolley. Mitch Woolley has our good computer, you know, our tips and everything. I mean, it really is. We couldn't do without him. And of course, you just heard from Gary Martinez. He's driving, doing his business. Hopefully, whatever today is a successful day on the next transaction, Gary. But he's our real estate expert or guru. Since I'm the title guru, he's the real estate guru. And he's basically more of the industrial. You can correct me, Gary, at any time along the way there. And also good ideas on the cell phone, rental cell phones for those properties. So extra income there. And I'm Denise Anthony. I am the title guru. So whenever any real estate transaction happens or you need questions and need to know what's on a piece of property, I'm there to help you get that. And I don't know where Margaret's not here. Socialize LA. Margaret, she's not there. But she also is our expert with the social media and always has time to help the people here at City Club. So, but today I'm looking forward, of course, to Michelle, and that will be something that is going to be great. So I guess she'll be introduced by, is it Vernon? Are you introducing Michelle or Mitch?
No, Mitch is going to introduce Michelle.
Oh, we have an interesting echo there. So we ready to go, guys?
We're ready.
We're ready. So let's buckle your seatbelts and get ready to go. So Michelle Carlin is the founder and president of Alignment Advising. She has worked with hundreds of clients, including organization executives, business owners, entrepreneurs, employees, and job seekers. Michelle's an energetic professional business and career coach, trainer, and facilitator. She brings enthusiasm, collaboration, and a real-world approach to organizational and professional career development. Michelle leverages 20 years of expertise in hospitality, travel, tourism, and property management, which she employs to produce an array of value-added results for her clients to include impactful and sustainable strategy, improved organizational client experience, executive presence and communication skills, robust growth cycles and bottom line, and positive growth mindsets. This and more allows Alignment Advising clients to move forward with greater ease and confidence as leaders and team members. Michelle is a Southern California native and a graduate of Cal Poly Pomona, volunteer, an advocate, connector, and collaborative peer in nonprofits, local business organizations, and national entrepreneurial groups. In addition, she's an author and visual artist. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Michelle Carlin. Michelle?
I'm frozen here. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can now.
Okay, that was weird. Sorry about that. So thank you so much for that introduction, and good morning, everyone. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today to share my knowledge about finding your alignment. Los Angeles is actually my home, I should say Pasadena. So you're all near and dear to my heart. I'm actually in the Santa Barbara area in Carpinteria, about 6 blocks from the beach. So I consider myself spoiled. I get to come down to LA frequently and visit my family. So, okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So as we had shared when you signed up for this presentation today, I'm going to be very candid with you and say, you know, the last 16 months have truly been a test, haven't they? I think each of us feels that we have learned so many things. We continue to do so as we move through the pandemic because it's not over. As much as we want to be done with it, it's not done with us. And so I imagine that you're here today to see how you can improve yourself. And that's really what I'm going to be speaking to you about this morning. So very briefly, today's takeaways, you're going to be understanding why it's important to be personally and professionally in alignment and what that means. We're going to learn how to shift your mindset easily. I know that can be a tough one for some. We're going to find new ways to develop new business. Yes, there is an opportunity for this. And then hopefully you'll be receiving and walking away with some easily implementable steps as you move towards your success. Okay, see this gentleman here on the left? He's definitely having some pain in his shoulder and neck. Looks very uncomfortable, I have to say. Anyone here ever tried the Rubik's Cube here in the center? Getting all the colors to match up can be challenging. If you're a guru at it and you've practiced, you can do it very quickly and easily. But for most, it is quite challenging. And then here on the right, we have this blue beamer who is in a parking structure, and I can only imagine that he either intentionally parked out of his spot, which is actually the story of the person that sent me this picture who thought it was perfect for my business. They are blocking the way in the parking structure, and you can imagine how frustrated people might be at this individual. So what do all of these images conjure up in our heart and our mind when we look at them? For me, it's stress, it's uncomfortableness, as I said before, and it's a feeling of dis-ease. And I would call all of these things out of alignment. So I shared my story with you this morning so that you can understand my journey into finding my alignment. And Mitch so aptly read my bio. I was able to spend nearly 25 years in the hospitality and tourism industry and also have experience in property management. My career has focused mostly on sales, marketing, business development, and organizational planning. And I have represented different destinations, hotels, attractions, restaurants throughout California, and really absolutely loved what I was doing for all those years. I had moved from San Diego to Santa Barbara for a position as an executive sales director. And after being here for several years, I was coming into some conflicts. And that forced me into a crossroad that I had to make a choice about. I had to make a decision to uphold ethics and morals. And it was a decision that I knew would cost me my position. So you can imagine the stress and the dis-ease that I was experiencing. I share this with you because what happened after that was I found myself out of work. I felt like I was all over the place. And it took me some time, but I took that opportunity and decided to go about an introspective process. I looked at all the positions that I had volunteered for, all of the positions that I worked for, the people that I worked with, and I analyzed what was it that I was bringing to these organizations and to these individuals. And over time, as I was working as a part-time consultant, I determined that I was helping organizations and individuals become into alignment. And so this happened about a year before the pandemic. I went ahead and got a business license and began this journey, and here I am today with you. Now, Alignment Advising is a boutique business consulting and professional development coaching firm supporting organizations and individuals into reaching their goals with greater ease. So by identifying roadblocks, overcoming challenges, alignment is reached through the readjustment of resources, creation of effective plans and strategies, and the development of professional tools and training. And I call it your best success realized. So I'd like to just get a formal definition of what alignment is. Alignment is when all parts are adjusted in proper position in relation to each other to allow for coordinated functioning or are in matching agreement. Now, I don't know about you, I love just the flow of those words, and what that means is that things are flowing and they're moving easily.
I love it too.
Thank you. And I use this image because if you've ever been to the beach, and as I share, I live by the beach, I see this frequently, that someone has stacked these rocks in formation and they're in complete balance and alignment. And I think it's absolutely incredible. But I would say that in a journey of alignment, this is what you're attaining. You're attaining that balance. So I'd like to start this presentation to you this morning really from we're going to go from a top level view, 30,000 foot if you will, to frame up the discussion. And Mitch, please do let me know if there's questions. And for some reason I'm having trouble seeing the chat, so you may have to just unmute yourself. Sorry about that.
I'm watching the chat for you.
Perfect, thank you. So alignment. These are 4 what I call life areas. And I'm going to dive into what these all mean, but I'll briefly review them here. And alignment is the intersection of these 4 areas in perfect harmony. So first you have principles and values. Secondly, you have your outlook. Third is your human relations or connections and communication. And then last, you have plans and actions. So principles and values are your belief system. What is it that you use as your compass or your guiding light, so to speak? That should be your foundation of how you live your life day to day, right? Because as we know, in business, it's also very personal, whether people want to admit that or not. You are an individual first and foremost. So these are the things that are important. Secondly, your outlook is your attitude or your viewpoint. I'm sure you've seen those images of a glass. I'll show you mine. Glass with water in it. Is it half full or is it half empty? So this is our viewpoint, and that determines how you move through decisions in your life. Third, again, is human relations, and those are all the interpersonal connections. That is how you communicate with others. And one of the things that I coach individuals with is bettering communications. I think in general, there's always room for improvement with how we communicate with others. And then last is plans and actions, what you do and how you do it. So that's the framework for today. And I share this quote with you, alignment produces an optimum environment that supports your ability to achieve your full potential. And this image is appropriate. You can see that there was an optimum environment for this plant to grow through the crack in the sidewalk. And so that's what we're looking to do. And I think, again, that specifically relates to where we've all been the last 16 months. So there's 3 steps that I'm going to be giving to you today. Within these 3 steps, we have 3 different actions, and then we have examples. And we're going to be looking at our approach. We're going to be looking at opportunity, and then finally organization. And again, this really is focused on you as an individual and your personality, your individuality, who you are translates into what you do in your profession. Now, I know we have several entrepreneurs and business owners and maybe some corporate professionals here, so this is applicable to all of us. Our first step this morning is to begin with a new approach. I got to stop you before I go any further, because before we can begin with a new approach, we need to acknowledge that we have to look at different options than what maybe we've been doing, right? So in order to improve, we need to understand what I call this popular definition of insanity. And what is it? Doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting different results. Anyone guilty of this? I think we all we all do that. And I looked up this quote. They say it's attributed to Ben Franklin, Albert Einstein, and Mark Twain. So I'm not exactly sure who came up with it, but I think it's brilliant. So I'm going to stop you here and say, as we move forward, you must acknowledge that it's time to do something different. So as we begin with a new approach, and the reason I bring this up, and this is the first step, is when we are doing the same thing over and over again, we aren't getting different results, right? The expectation that we would is just really a misperception. The way to begin with a new approach is to take a step back and determine to look at things from a very different perspective. So I call this developing a perspective mindset. And you may say to me, well, that's great, Michelle. I don't know how to do that. Well, that's what I'm going to share with you today, how you can easily do this. And this image here of a woman looking up is a perfect example. So as we go throughout our day, we're moving forward, right? At least physically, we're walking, we're seeing beyond us. But when we take the time to look at something from a different angle, something else is presented to us that we didn't notice before. We become consciously aware of our surroundings and realize that our life is not just a narrow, straight and narrow. It's actually more like a funnel, right? So a quick way to begin this energy shift, as I call it, would be with a gratitude exercise. And this can be just a minute, maybe you want to do it 10 minutes, an hour a day, is simply taking the time, whether it's in the morning, at lunch, or in the evening, that you sit down and you consciously think of the things that you're thankful for. And these don't have to be complicated, but when you start to focus on the positive things, you will notice your energy shift and your mind will open up. So I have here a gift someone gave me. It says Miracles and Gratitude. I just got this. I'm going to be using it. Again, these can be simple things like you're grateful for a new friendship that you have made. You're grateful for the networking group that you're attending. So simple things like that. Second example is extend an act of kindness. Now, this can be a number of things. It could be that you decide to volunteer. I know many people through the pandemic found a cause that they were interested in supporting. Some people decided to go and volunteer with a food bank. I think that is a wonderful way to get your energy outward instead of inward. So when we're looking outward to others and how we can help them, we benefit from that. It makes us stronger people. It could also be a simple pay it forward exercise. So if you're in a drive-through and you decide you want to buy the person behind you a drink at Starbucks, go ahead, pass it along. It's very contagious and it really shifts energy. The last example here is to limit media intake. And this is a little bit laughable, I might say, because we're always online now. We're on social media. We've got to make sure, we're posting things for our business. We're, interacting with people, staying connected. But we also hear news, we see articles, and it's important to be aware of what's going on with current events. But I will tell you that the minute you start getting into a negative spin, it gets out of control. So limit your media intake as much as you can. Action 2 is to challenge yourself. So we're creatures of habit, aren't we? We love to be in a routine, right? Everyone says, let's get back to normal. Let's be done with COVID. We want our old life back. And I am going to challenge you to challenge yourself. When we're doing the same thing over and over again, we become stagnant and we lose that opportunity to create that environment that I was speaking about that allows you to reach your full potential. So examples of this can be, to join a new group. I was able to join several new networking groups through the last 16 months, and I cannot tell you, it has produced business for me. It has produced new connections, but it's also just giving me a sense of confidence. And so I encourage you to do the same. Maybe you want to try a new class or a new activity. And I put this golf picture up here to share with you a personal story that when I was representing Monterey, I actually had the privilege of representing the Pebble Beach resorts. And I thought, how could I represent Pebble Beach without knowing anything about golf? I had no clue about golf whatsoever. So I thought, you know what, this is the opportunity to go ahead and sign up and take lessons. And so I took semi-private lessons. I'm still terrible at golf, I have to tell you. But I was able to understand why people like golf. Being on the green is just an incredible experience. Again, it opens your eyes and your mindset. And so I encourage you to try a new class or a new activity, and it could be anything that you're interested in. It doesn't need to be golf, but I use that as an example. And then last is to change up your routine. Again, when we get in a routine, it feels good, right? Because it's comfortable, but it really doesn't allow for that growth that we're looking for. Okay, our final action begin with a new approach is to incorporate a wellness activity. Now, some of you might say, oh, well, I exercise and, I go to the gym, or I'm in a Pilates class or yoga class, and I say continue to do that, but add something more to that. It can be something like meditating for 5 minutes a day. Doesn't have to be complicated. It's about injecting something new and different. And so the example here is this woman's in her home and she's meditating. All of us are at home these days working remotely, so this is something that you can easily incorporate. Another example is taking a walking break. You actually may be back at your office, or even if you're at home, okay, you did your workout routine in the morning, but go ahead and take that a step further. Make sure you take a break. We are not robots. And unfortunately, I think our culture has you know, forced this idea that we just have to work all the time. And quite frankly, this presentation is about not working all the time, right? It's about being balanced with your approach. And then last as an example would be to treat yourself to a healthy snack. It's easy to go and grab a bag of chips, eat a cookie. I know we're surrounded by that frequently, but always have something healthy with you, an apple, you know, have an extra glass of water than you normally would, you know, nuts or something like that really helps nourish your system. And I think one of the things that stands out to me through the pandemic is that health is wealth. And I can't say that this could be more true, because when you don't feel well, you're not able to do anything. So keep that in mind. Health is wealth. I'm going to stop here briefly if we have questions, comments.
So I had a question. I put it in the chat.
Okay.
When you're doing the gratitude exercise, must it be always something different, or can it be the same thing every time?
Well, if you're thankful for the same thing, that's quite all right. I encourage you to try and think of new things, because you'll start to see that as you practice the exercise, you'll uncover more things that you're grateful for, things that you didn't notice previously. And I'll give you an example is, especially when we were first on lockdowns last year in March and April, I was doing a lot of walks around the neighborhood. And I noticed plants and flowers that I hadn't seen before, even though I had been on that same walking path. And so that's an example. You'll start to see things that you didn't even know were there.
I like that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Michelle, I do the same thing when I'm on the way
Do
to
you?
work. I try to take different paths to work,
Yes.
different routes, even when I'm going local, and stay off the freeway, because you see different things, and it opens your mind up instead of this whole routine where you drive down the same freeway and you're blind to everything and you don't pay
Yes.
attention.
Yeah, and
Autopilot.
Yeah, the autopilot, and it's so easy to get into that because we think, oh, we're being so efficient and productive. And truly, you know, you can be efficient and productive when you actually are focused on what's around you and being aware and conscious. And I know it sounds a little counterintuitive, but for those that are, you know, interested in that type of practice, it works really well.
Michelle, there's another question from Dr. Natalie Sanders.
Okay.
She says, the American work culture, is it uniquely American, or has it been forged by capitalism and globalization?
My opinion about that is not a fact, is that because we are a first world country and we are the strongest country in the world, that yes, we tend to probably fall into that more than any other place. If you look at Europe, people get 6 weeks of paid vacation and they're happy to not return your email for like 2 months, and they'll send you an automated message. I'm on holiday, you know, please contact me or contact this person. You know, I'll talk to you later. We have this unnecessary need. And I think it creates a lot of anxiety to where we always feel the need to respond right away to something. And while I do value that in some ways, and we're going to talk about this in this next step, is there has to be a boundary, right? You can't be available to everybody at all times, even though your phone is on. It just creates havoc for you personally. And then that's when you get out of alignment. And that's the derailment that we're talking about, right? So it's just important to be aware. Okay, I'll move to our next step. And our next two steps are really, for this presentation's sake, is more focused on business and profession, but it is also applicable to your personal life. But I wanted to focus on this because this is a business networking group. So step 2 is to uncover new opportunities. I'm sure all of you are familiar with Paretos Principle, which is the 80-20 rule. Simply, it means that 80% of the effects of everything comes from 20% of the causes. So in sales, what that looks like is that 80% of your business or your revenue comes from 20% of your clients. That's an example of this rule in working effect. So keep this in mind as I speak to these actions and examples. The first action is to nurture relationships. And this is from a business perspective. You know, we were kind of chit-chatting before this presentation started, and I heard people talking about how excited they were to learn about alignment, which excites me, quite frankly. And this is a great space to nurture relationships. If we're networking on Zoom, or when we get back to in-person networking, really take the time and opportunity to learn about others. One of the things that I hope that you take away with you today is that your success is dependent upon other people. And as much as we want to think, well, I'm driving the bus and I get to do what I want to, and I'm going to advance this relationship or this business transaction, that's all well and good. But ultimately, you can't have your business if you don't have relationships. So think about that. Think about personally inviting people to connect. So I know a lot of you have been doing like Zoom happy hours and trying to connect with people one-on-one, and it can get tiring. I'll be honest, I do understand that. But take it a step further, push the envelope, right? Send a handwritten note to that person before your happy hour. Maybe you even want to send them a bottle of wine that's, you know, they like, or maybe it's one of your favorites, and you send that note and you say, here's a bottle of wine we can share on our virtual happy hour. Okay, when you take that extra step, it causes that person to be connected to you, and you can start to develop and forge that relationship from there. The next example is to network well. So again, along the same vein of, you know, going to these networking events, figuring out what you can get out of it, that's all well and good. But again, put in your mind that you want to help someone else. How can you help someone else connect? How can you learn about someone else's business? I have been presented with so many opportunities that I couldn't have made up for myself, because I took the time to have a conversation with someone, really learn who they are, what their business is, what they're looking for, and make it genuine. You know, don't fake it to make it. Really actually care, and continue those conversations. So follow up and follow through. I don't know if you've heard, I know so many people attend trade shows, or they were before COVID, and they, you know, would meet all these people. They come back with these business cards, and if you talk to the clients, they would tell you, well, I attended this trade show, I met all these vendors, and I've had like 2 people call me, or 2 people send me an email. And there's another fact that I've heard, that usually when you follow up, by the first or second time, people give up on follow-up, but it's when you follow up 3rd, 4th, and 5th time that you actually secure business. So this is hugely important. It's not enough to get a business card. It's not enough to connect on LinkedIn, right? You have to put in effort. You have to do the work. And following up and following through is part of that. I'll pause for a moment for questions.
Dr. Natalie said she can help with the wine in case anybody wants any.
We have a wine person. That's awesome. Okay, the second action is advance your knowledge. And I'm sure that most of you are doing this, but I just bring this up as a reminder. Doing refresher training on your skill set, looking at certifications or degrees. I know there is just so many organizations out there that are offering training, and you get a digital certificate, and then you can post it to your LinkedIn or your Facebook and show everybody what you've been working on. That's really important. You know, always advancing your knowledge, never feeling like you've learned everything and you're done, right? That's when you're not growing. So look into those programs. You may be considering getting your master's or something along those lines. By all means, take the opportunity, take the time to do that. It makes you a stronger professional. And on the flip side of limiting your media intake, stay up with current trends. So there's a balance there. If you're in a specific industry, I'm sure there's resources, associations, websites that you can go to really keep up with the different trends and things that are, impacting change within your industry. So make sure that you're up to speed with that. So our third action is to be a resource. And along the same lines of, keeping abreast of current trends is to share expert information. What do I mean by this? Well, we're talking about uncovering new opportunities, right, in the business space. So it's great to have conversations with potential clients or your clients about a transaction or what have you, but to help build your credibility, right? It's not enough just to have knowledge about what you do, but it's sharing that knowledge. So it doesn't even have to be related to your industry. And certainly I recommend that if you're learning about trends in your industry, that you pass that along to your client so that it helps them make a better informed decision. But an example of this would be if you're talking with someone and maybe you're having casual conversation and you're talking about, getting used to having a home office and some of the challenges that are presented with that. You could possibly Google an article, how to better set up my home office. And what you can do is you can forward that to your client or your prospective client and say, hey, so enjoyed our conversation the other day, found this article, know we both are trying to adjust to this working from home. These tips were really helpful for me. I'm implementing them. I wanted to share this with you. So that gives you added credibility. Is there a question?
Yes, Michelle.
Yes.
Pamela Hewley asked, if choosing where to put your time, is it nurturing current relationships or getting more credentials? Which one would be the priority, assuming you can't do it all at once?
Without knowing what your business is, it's hard for me to answer that. It really depends on what you're trying to accomplish and what goals you set out for yourself. We're going to be talking about that. I say they're equally important, just from a general viewpoint. If you need to carve out time for both, you need to figure a way to carve out time for both. And again, it comes back to this idea of little steps, right? The gratitude exercise can take 1 minute. If you want it to take 2 hours, you can allow that. But the same applies for implementing these activities, is choose 5 minutes within your day. Obviously, the education takes more time, so you're going to have to figure that out with your schedule. But again, without knowing specifically what your business is, I can't answer that to the best that I would like.
No, that sounds good. I like that. It's you answered what I was thinking, actually, because we do need to take a little bit of time of every aspect. That's how you move all the pieces of our lives forward.
Yes, that is exactly correct. So moving back to our action of being a resource, the second example I have is to introduce connections. So as I was speaking about networking and making sure you're asking others what their business is and genuinely being interested in what it is that they do, to take it a step further, and again, to give yourself some credibility, go ahead and think about who you might be able to connect with that person. I would call that being a connector, and people love connectors, right? They want to meet people that will connect them to someone that can bring them business or some other benefit. So don't be shy. Of course, ask if it's okay that you introduce someone. There is some diplomacy with that, but I think that most people would absolutely love that opportunity if they're being introduced to someone. And again, make sure it's sincere. And be aware of what that person offers if you're introducing them to someone, right? You want to be well-versed in the service or product that they have. Okay, our last example here is to be visible. And yes, in person and virtually. This is really, really important. And I know, for various reasons, and I'm not calling anyone out because I do it on occasion, but when you can turn your video on, it's really great because people, they might see your name, they see you're visible. If you're going to a regular meeting like this monthly breakfast, they see you show up, right? When you show up, people want to know who you are. They want to be connected to you, and that opens up new opportunities for you. So I'll pause again for any questions or comments. How are we on time, Mitch?
We're good. We got 19 minutes, plenty of time.
Ah, perfect. So I'll be able to take some more open-ended questions at the end. Okay, so step 3 is to evaluate, organize, and then act. So our first action with this step is to review past performance. And I'm hopeful that a number of you through, again, the last 16 months, and I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but it's a huge lesson. Perhaps your business was not prepared. You were completely caught off guard. You thought, hey, we're going to be in a lockdown for 2 weeks, right? We all thought it was 2 weeks. And then here we are 16 months later, and things have just completely changed from all angles: political, social justice, economic situations. Everything is really different. So it's important that you evaluate what your business was prior to COVID, and then what took place during these 16 months, and understand what worked and what didn't work. And then I challenge you to be prepared if another type crisis continues or is presented to you in your path, that you apply those lessons, right? There's nothing worse than going through a bad experience and then forgetting what you knew about it or what you learned about yourself or your business or your clients, and then repeating the same thing, right? That's the popular definition of insanity. So the first thing is to evaluate, review those lessons, review those findings. And it's okay that you're challenged. It's okay if you're presented with disruption. Again, those are opportunities to grow and learn and be better and continuously improve yourself. The second is to celebrate your accomplishments. And we were speaking with, is it Califia Gold? I don't know who the gentleman is with this company. But
Eddie Washington.
Yes, and he has a cannabis consulting business, and he said his business is just booming. And so there's others through this time period that have actually excelled and expanded. And it's because we're learning new things and we're able to educate people about different things that might benefit them. And so celebrating your accomplishments, celebrating when you are expanding your business, or perhaps you've decided to pivot in your current role and you're looking at new ways to find different clients than the traditional ones that you've served. So take the moment to kind of pat yourself on the back. And I know some people aren't necessarily comfortable with giving themselves credit, but I say you have to give yourself credit, because if you don't, it gets a little bit overwhelming when things aren't going exactly as you planned. So celebrating accomplishments is a way to really boost your confidence. Our last example is to do scenario planning. So look at, again, the past performance, your accomplishments, but then look at maybe what some of the other opportunity or situations could have presented. So you can think in terms of, I hate to say it, but worst case scenario, maybe middle of the road scenario, and then your best case scenario, and what outcomes would come as a result of those different scenario plannings. Okay, so action 2 then is to set goals. And this is my favorite. Some people cringe. They're like, no, please don't talk about goal setting. I don't like goals. I never reach my goals. I don't have any goals. I've actually heard that from several organizations. Well, we just kind of hope for a 10% increase in our revenue. And, it's not enough to hope. You do have to plan. And again, I'm giving you the steps to creating that plan. So look at your past goals. If you had set them, what did they look like? Did you achieve those? If you did set out to increase your business by 10%, were you at 8%? Were you at 15%? Maybe you were at 500%. That would be awesome, right? So look at how that fits in with what it is that you see yourself doing in the worst case, mid case, and best case scenarios. And it's okay if you don't meet your goal. Of course, we all want to meet our goals, but they may not always be realistic, or the conditions in the business environment may not allow us for that to happen. So go ahead and reframe them, check in with them. I would suggest at least a quarterly check-in with what your annual goals are. And then if you have monthly goals, you want to kind of keep tabs on those on a weekly basis. But go ahead and reframe them. Maybe you need to take that different approach that we're talking about. Maybe it's not so much a quantitative goal, but more of a qualitative goal, like, hey, we want to have more direct interactions with our clientele, right? So that would be a goal as well. And then you're going to write them down. And yes, you have to commit. You have to commit to act, because it's not enough to write it down, right? You have to have the motivation and the energy and the drive to say, this is what I'm doing. And you need to keep yourself accountable. So this is an example for you. If you haven't heard of SMART goals, this is a really great blueprint for how you can come up with goals for your business or for yourself individually. And it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So SMART goals. And specific is, what is it that you want to do, right? What is it, that end goal? Measurable, how will you know when you've reached it, right? You've got to have a benchmark. And then third is it in your power to accomplish this, right? So are the conditions optimum, like we've been speaking about, to create that? Next is it realistic? Now, if we have another pandemic, is it realistic that the goal that you've set is going to happen? And then last is, when exactly do you want to accomplish this? So you always have to put a time parameter around that. That's part of committing and keeping yourself accountable. So I encourage you, you can Google SMART goals. There's all kinds of tools that you can utilize, but I highly recommend this. Okay, so our last action here is to be ready. And I've made this presentation many times. I will tell you that people have shared with me this is their favorite part of it, because they're like, yeah, I never even thought about actually anticipating to be ready and have success. And so that is the final process in this whole three-pronged step. Stay consistent. So we talked about, adding those, 5 minutes to your day where you're doing these different exercises, but you have to do them consistently over time, right? It's not enough to do it just once. And an example of that is, I used to go to acupuncture. I had some severe allergies, and I went consistently to acupuncture for 10 years. It took me 10 years to really see a change. And I've talked to a lot of people about acupuncture, and they're like, well, I've tried it, it doesn't work for me. And I ask them, well, how long did you commit to trying it? And usually they're, well, I've been twice. And I say, well, you just can't measure if that was effective for you because it wasn't consistent. So stay consistent. The second thing is to allow yourself grace and space. And when you do this, you're going to feel that anxiety melt away. You're going to feel the stress kind of just, you know, release itself. Know that you're not perfect. While you want to attain alignment and you're working towards that, it takes a lot of shifting and readjusting. And just knowing that you can relax into it, right? So just saying it's okay. Can't always do it all right the first time. There's hopefully another day and you can try it again. And then last is to absolutely anticipate your success. And I just really stress this point because if you're not thinking positively, right? We talked about this glass, is it half full or half empty? You have to anticipate that when you're putting these steps into action, you're going to have success. Yes.
I had to unmute myself, sorry. Christine Thomas asks, when we feel overwhelmed with trying to balance work and personal, what do you suggest for how to process/manage that feeling?
Allow yourself the grace and space. So it's really difficult. It's like counterintuitive to do that because people can easily get overwhelmed. I'll be honest, I get overwhelmed, but I'm aware that I get overwhelmed. And so that's a first step in overcoming overwhelm, is just recognizing, okay, I've got a lot on my plate here. I'm kind of like chaotic brain at the moment. What do I do? That's your red flag to say, take a pause. So take a pause. You know, nothing is a fire. I mean, we're not firefighters here. You know, we're not medical personnel. And, you know, I acknowledge the immense stress that those types of people are under, and I'm super grateful for them, especially for this time. But if you're a business professional here in this setting, likely you're not involved in that particular aspect. So it's okay to take that 5 minutes and just kind of reorganize and say, you know, is this really a priority? You know, do I really need to do this? Or can this be something that I wait a couple days to respond to an email or something like that? I hope that helps. Okay. So in conclusion, change gets us to grow in the direction of our ultimate success. And when we talk about alignment, we're talking about the ability and the opportunity to reach your potential, which is really what your success factor is. So this woman is taking a huge leap. I'm really hopeful that today's presentation has given you really strong actions that you feel you can immediately, as soon as you hang up from this call, start to think about, start to plan for, and start to implement. And I think that you're really going to see some positive changes. So again, remain consistent, give yourself that grace and space, and anticipate your success. So I invite everyone here to schedule a 30-minute free consultation. I say complimentary, actually. It's a complimentary consultation where I get to meet you, I get to learn about you, maybe some of the challenges that you're faced with or things that you're just not quite sure how to navigate through. It can be anything. It can be about business, it can be about personal, it can be a combination of those things. I would be delighted to have that opportunity. So please visit calendly.com/alignment advising to make your appointment. You can also email me at michelle@alignmentadvising.com. Please connect with me on LinkedIn as well, both personally and follow my company, Alignment Advising. You can visit my website for more information, success stories from some of our clients. I also have a monthly blog that I post. And then, of course, you can always call me. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen unless anyone needs to like take a picture of that contact info.
I just dropped your Calendly. I just dropped it in the
okay,
in the
great.
chat box.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'll stop sharing the screen, and then Mitch, I'll let you facilitate those questions.
Cool. Let's see. So Gracie Ruth Melendez said, I like that quote. Change gets us to grow in the direction of our ultimate success. That's awesome. Pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
And let's see. Wonderful. Thank you. Excellent presentation. Wonderful presentation. Everybody loves you. We're recording. Claudia, will the recording be sent to attendees? We actually have a YouTube channel. And if you'll give me a second, I'm going to put that up on the screen. If you just go to our website, breakfastclubla.com, at the very top, and I'm going to put that in the box right now. At the very top of the page, there is some links to social media along with a YouTube channel. If you just click on that YouTube link, it'll open up and go over to our YouTube channel. All of our programs are recorded and will be put on the YouTube channel. And it usually takes a day or two after the event, and we'll have it up usually by Friday. So you can kind of check back there. I want to thank Michelle for the presentation today. Fantastic. Lots of raves here.
Mitch, can I add a personal touch here between you and I and everyone? Oh, it looks like Dr. Natalie has a question. Go ahead, and then I'll share my story.
Wonderful presentation. Dr. Natalie, you have a question?
Actually, it's not a question, it's a comment. I want to thank you very much for the presentation. And I particularly want to thank you for that comment about actually revealing yourself, your face on camera. I'm a strong proponent of that in my team, and they now know that. So everybody, pretty much, I think I have about 90% face as opposed to names on the screen. So thank you for reinforcing that, because that's part of this whole connection and relating.
It is, and thank you for that. I'm happy to hear that you've encouraged your team to do that, and hopefully others will follow suit. So along the same lines, and the story I was going to share is related to Mitch. I actually attended another networking group that he's responsible for, and him and I have never met in person. And so I had a question at the end of a presentation last year, and I just introduced myself. I said, hi, this is who I am. This is my business. And he private messaged me afterwards and said, could you be a speaker for another meeting? And so I've never met Mitch, but because I was visible and I took the time when there was question and answer to, introduce myself and, make some comments, he took that as like, hey, this is a great person that could speak about career transition. So that then has got me to today. So it's because of that, right? I was open-minded, I was willing. And so Dr. Natalie, you can share that story with your staff as well, right? You don't know where the next opportunity is going to come from. So be visible.
Absolutely, absolutely. Vernon, would you like me to share the event next month? Some details?
If you would, Mitch.
I'd be delighted to. So we have a speaker next month. Her name is Deborah Boggs, and Michelle actually knows her because they spoke kind of concurrently at another organization I'm involved with. The topic is called Leveraging LinkedIn, Elevating and Optimizing Your Profile. So Deborah, her company is DNS Consulting, and she's a professional LinkedIn profile optimizer. And what does that mean? So the key takeaways from the presentation, which will be on Wednesday, August the 18th, 7:30 to 9, which is the third Wednesday of next month, which is when we have all of our Breakfast Club meetings. Key takeaways include, but not limited to, why an optimized LinkedIn profile is so important, section by section action items to easily optimize your profile to immediately show up higher in the search results, which is pretty good. Also, how to determine your LinkedIn goal. What's your goal for your LinkedIn profile? How to write a compelling, keyword-rich headline and create a plan that will immediately elevate the professionalism of your LinkedIn profile, and much, much more. So again, that's on Wednesday, August 18th from 7:30 to 9. We'll have details up within the week on our website, which is breakfastclubla.com. And we'll be sending out email blasts as soon as that content is ready. for prime time, we'll send out email blasts, and then you can RSVP for it and gladly attend. It'll be Zoom exclusive. Okay. There you go. So Vernon?
You know, I doubt that I have to say this, but I will. Michelle, the presentation was outstanding. And we got so much from it. And you were dropping pearls left and right, and I'm just right behind you, picking up as many of them as I can. It's timely and certainly something that I think we all needed to hear. We get pieces and so forth, but I think you strung the pearls very well, and we all appreciated what you shared with us. So again, on behalf of the City Club Breakfast Club, thank you, thank you, thank you. We really appreciate it. And of course, at some point in time, we'll have to figure out how we can get you back again.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity, and I really look forward to connecting with you all.
So with that, and people now know how they can get in touch with you. So if they've got questions, you know, they can follow up with you. But again, we will call this the end of a meeting, and to let you know how much we appreciate everyone attending, and to please be sure to spread the information with your friends and colleagues. And we will see everyone next month on August the 18th for our LinkedIn expert, Deborah Boggs. I am looking forward to that.